guys know ahead of time. All right, so let's get started. Enough sneak. Welcome to the Cloud Edge and Cyber Showcase. We're really happy to have everyone here be a part of it and join us. We're joined by quite a few folks from a lot of different places, different industries, and we're really excited. Hopefully, it's going to be a fantastic event. So today's agenda, this is the opening remarks, and we're going to have a meet the panel. After that are the presentations. So there's going to be the IoT and Edge session, followed by the Cloud and Cyber session. Our vision, why we exist, is to help companies connect with the right stakeholders, the right folks that can actually make that technology happen, or even the end users. It could be simpler. Someone wants a piece of technology. Let's connect them to the folks who can actually make that technology. So we're trying to help deep tech become a reality by using our ecosystem and community to boost that. In our ecosystem, we have startups, tech scouts, whether they're government or corporate, and investors. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Anchoring all of these different pieces are our events. So we have an event every month focused on a different theme. And at the event, it's a way of, instead of doing, although we do, I'll get to it, but we do have introductions and matchmaking. That being said, we found that seeing a company present their deck and their materials has had pretty great effects when it comes to seeing traction and getting interest. So we host these events with the goal of connecting one part to another. In between the events, instead of being out and hoping that the next event's going to be good, we also send deal flow, so to speak, to whoever's interested in it. So if folks are on this call who will say, hey, I really want to see more companies that look like this, and some of those companies presented today, or some could be presenting in the future, or could be involved, feel free to reach out to us. We always want to connect folks within our ecosystem or outside of our ecosystem to startups that are working towards building out and really making their technology a reality. So feel free to reach out to myself or Brian after the event if you want more details on that. Even if you see an event a company today that you find interesting, let us know, and we're happy to make the match. So these are the upcoming showcases. I snuck in IoT, Edge, Cloud, and Cyber because we're technically just beginning it. I'm getting away on a technicality, but there's also going to be the Energy Showcase, Energy and Clean Tech Showcase next month. Then after that, Industry 4.0. So stay tuned for that. And now, without further ado, we are going to have Benjamin Sampson from our sister company present really quickly on some grants, because right now is the really hot time for a lot of grants. But Benjamin could fill us in a little bit more on what's available, what's not available, and what you should be doing.
It's my pleasure, Asher. I know we've got an agenda. I know we've got a lot to do, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Just want to say, if you are looking, you or your companies or your portfolio is looking to pursue non-dilutive R&D funding from the U.S. federal government, grants can be a great way to do it. And we here at Eagle Point, that's what we do. We're a grant consulting and grant writing firm. Our goal is to help companies not only source the grants that are out there that fit with their R&D roadmap, but to then actually handle the vast majority of the budgeting, the technical documents, the business proposals, the formatting, editing, writing, laying it out, submitting to the agencies, and communicating with the agencies. Essentially, if there's anything you will let us take off your plate when it comes to grant funding, we will do it. And the goal is to apply to as many grants as we can to get you as much funding as you can. Now, why we're successful, why we've been in this business for over 20 years, it comes down to really three things. One, we know the system. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've ever tried to apply for these grants, they are purposely obfuscated. So we're here to help cut through all that and make your life easy. Number two is, as I said, we're not looking to apply to one grant or two grants. We want to go for as many grants as possible to maximize your ability to win. And lastly, we found that the more we can sell the company's vision, sell your idea, how you really want to change the status quo and change the industry as you know it, the better you're going to do in these proposals, because these reviewers, they're your peers, they understand the tech side. What they need to understand is they need to understand the dream. And so we here at Eagle Point, that's what we do. We include that into your proposals to help facilitate a higher likelihood of winning from the proposals and from the grants. And so really our perspective is, if you'll let us handle your grant writing, we'd love to. in whatever capacity you'll let us.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, BB. And feel free, he has a QR code up here. Feel free to use it, or if you want to get in touch with him, his email's here as well. And I can also, on request, share his information if you didn't catch it now. All right. So for our first session today, we're going to have Hyperblocks, Creative C, Spinity, and WaterSite presenting. Followed by our cloud and cyber section, we're going to have Blastwave, Consilience, Lattice, Nanolock, and IronYun. And for the meet panel, the moment we've all been waiting for, I'm going to run through. I already gave a sneak peek. Run through, your name, what company you're with, and then the question that I gave, and you guys can choose to answer it or not answer it. I'm going to let it be discretionary. Where do you think the best opportunities are right now in terms of the market, and what kind of positioning do you think needs to be had in order to be successful? Because there's a lot of people tuning into this call, and they obviously want to hear a little bit about what you guys have to say. So feel free to do that. And so without further ado, I'm going to give the floor up to Yvonne. Yvonne, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Asher. So my name is Yvonne Lutsch. I'm an investment principal at Bosch Ventures. This is the CVC arm of the Bosch Group, a large multinational conglomerate of different areas. And we do investments in early stage startups from Series C to maybe Series C. We do lead rounds, we co-lead, we follow typical check size, maybe 1 to 10 million US dollars. And a couple of years ago, Bosch decided to become an IoT company. And nowadays, I kind of feel IoT is not a buzzword anymore. Some people try to reframe it to another word because IoT was a big promise. And in some areas, it didn't fulfill. But on the other hand, I also see that, especially in the industrial space, that finally IoT becomes a new reality. So especially in the industrial field, and in manufacturing, for example, I see big opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Next up is Olivier.
Hey, Olivier, investment associate at No Finance. At No Finance, basically what we do, we invest in capex intensive startups, so startup in the robotic field, medtech, environmental engineering, also robotics, where basically the startups need to invest within a hardware. We invest into financing products, and also we do a bunch of small equities. Where I see the market going, I'm going to speak about the trends that I'm passionate about. This is robotics, and it's also to some extent linked to IoT, because the connectivity and the networking help basically us to manage those robots. Currently, and particularly in Switzerland, the market it starts to be relatively mature for investors. Startups develop their proprietary hardware and now try to commercializing and try to build up the autonomous part of their software.
Sure, thank you. Next up is Martina. Is Martina here?
Yes, I am here. I am just struggling with the connection. I don't know why. Hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, I have developed some history with Deep Tech Showcase. I am so happy I am here. As always, I am working with several of the startups already, so it has been fruitful. I am leading the NASA Space Ups Challenge, for those that don't know, at NASA Ames and NASA Glenn centers. And we are really focusing on developing innovation, open data utilization, as well as supporting the startup ecosystem and the community. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to hear all of your innovative ideas.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. All right, next up is Tim Denning. Give it a second. If not, we're going to move forward, which is fine. All right, Rudy, are you with us?
Can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, computer's been slow all morning, but anyways, I'll keep. looks like my camera's on, but I'll just keep going. So my name is Rudy Beza. I'm based out of Edwards Air Force Base, heavily focused in testing and development, in the acquisition for fighter aircraft and manpower discussions for organization improvement. So definitely looking forward to hearing you guys, what you have, what you guys can bring to the fight, and definitely excited to see how we can integrate industry with our warfighters out in the field. Over.
Awesome. Happy to have you. All right, you're up now that we've got it sorted out.
They talk to me or
Tim.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that. I didn't join properly, which is par for the course for me. I think after 2 years, we'd know how to do this. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity, Asher. I'm with Ultratech Capital Partners, partner and vice president, in charge of all deal flow and diligence. I also work with our company's post-investment. We are an early stage deep tech dual use investor. So we invest in seed, pre-series A and series A rounds of a company's life cycle. We'll invest across 6 different technology verticals that touch all domains of warfighting. So artificial intelligence, cyber, semiconductors, energy generation, storage, advanced materials, and quantum are the areas we like to focus in. And dual use is the critical piece of our thesis in that all of the technology we invest in has to have both national security and commercial application. So excited to learn more about the company's pitching today and appreciate the opportunity. Over.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And next up, I've been going a little out of order to keep everyone on their toes. Next up, we have Dr. Hanko.
all righty, thank you. That worked. I was on my toe, right? Thanks. It's always pleasure to be a part of this great program. And before I introduce myself, I've been working with the deep tech, and these guys are putting together a great program. I always recommend. Anyway, my name is Hanko from USACO Group. I'm president and CEO. And basically, my company is an international venture capital company. Okay, so we invest in companies all over the world, mostly in USA, but about 30% is overseas, including Asian and then some European. And as a matter of fact, we just entered another pretty good investment agreement with a company from Europe as well. About our field, we cover a wide spectrum of industry, from AI to healthcare, e-commerce, blockchain, and then some robotics. So we have appetite for multiple disciplines. I think that if somebody asked me about my take on my forecast on the upcoming future, I'm looking at the bright side of it, because like I said, we work with the global market, and the way I see it is, especially Asian market is actually emerging, so that there are a lot more opportunities and companies out there and try to enter US market, and also US companies try to expand to overseas as well. So I'm looking at the big picture as a really a bright side of it. Okay, so anyway, glad to meet you, and good luck to all the presenters. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Han. Next up, we have John Richmond.
Hey, Asher, good to see you again. So I think Tim Denning's intro is basically the same as mine for Lockheed Martin Ventures. We are the strategic venture capital arm of Lockheed. We are dual use deep tech investors. We cover investments in 4 business areas. I personally cover our space portfolio. We have 14 technology verticals. I cover cybersecurity, comm and 5G, quantum technologies, and sensor technologies. We are also an early stage investor, prefer seed and series A, although we'll do follow-ons in later rounds. Typical check size is about 500K to 5 million. And we're looking for companies that have very strong commercial traction, but are looking to make a pivot in defense and would align with one of our business areas. IoT and edge are of interest, particularly from space perspective. So companies that are traditionally looking at agriculture and other markets that can pivot and do some higher data rate stuff for some of our deployed assets. Connectivity through a space-based constellation is of interest. That's
Awesome. Thank you, John. Next up, we have Peter Holden. Hey, Peter, I know he's on the call. Maybe we'll come back to Peter.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Hear you now. Yep.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm based in New York. I run Done with Capital, which is a deep tech fund, cross-border. We have partners in Cambridge, UK, Seoul, and Japan, Tokyo, Japan. And we invest in AI, semicon, a lot of advanced materials because they're so integral to electrification, sustainability plays. So we're doing a lot of investments in that area. There's a lot of US funding and European funding as well in these areas too. So that's our focus.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Next up, we have Ridge Flick. Ridge, if you're here, feel free to share.
I'm here, Asher. Thanks for having me again. It's my second showcase. I'm a major in the Air Force. I'm at Air Combat Command. My day job is to do requirements for the A-10C. So I hope you guys like the new background I put up for today's meeting. And then what I really like to do is try and find some of the companies that are starting up that I see potential for DoD applications and link them into the right places within the DoD. One of the big things that we struggle with in the DoD is connecting all of our toys, kind of like John was talking about. So for IoT and Edge, I think one of the big things that we're going to see moving forward is increased capability without any user input for things to disconnect and reconnect to the cloud and get the updates that they need without requiring high bandwidth. So that's what I think we're going to see in the future moving forward for DoD.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Harry, you're up.
Hi all, I'm Harry Meyer. I'm the Deputy CEO for Innovation and Smart Cities with Mesa, Arizona. We are an innovative city. I'm bringing kind of the local government perspective from separate from all of these Fed folks, and looking at kind of the boots on the ground in an urban environment, looking at what the operations of a city and what urban residents are looking for in terms of intelligence for their local everything that they touch on a day-to-day basis. So bringing that perspective.
Perfect. We appreciate that perspective. Thank you, Harry. Next up, we have Craig McClellan.
Hey, thank you. And I'm going to take this different perspective a little further, I think, Harry. I'm with the Canadian government. I'm with a economic development agency that focuses on Southern Ontario, really the manufacturing and tech hub of the whole country. My role is really helping to connect, local innovative companies, innovators, and, people that are doing some advanced research with prime contractors, OEMs in the defense field that have sold things to Canada. When we buy military equipment, there's often offsets attached to that. So a requirement to get Canadian content in there. So I work with a lot of, we did an event with Lockheed Martin Space, for example, yesterday, where we had a bunch of people learning about how to connect with them and get involved with some opportunities. So we're connectors mainly. Really excited to learn about some new technology here today and, see what's going on. So thank you for inviting me.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. All right, next up, we have Reese Schroeder.
Well, hello, everybody. Reese Schroeder. I am with Allstate Strategic Ventures, the corporate venture capital arm of Allstate Insurance Company. We are a Series A through C investor, and the spaces that we really focus on, I would say, are deep tech, frontier tech, connected home, connected vehicle, enterprise SaaS. I'd say those are some of the major spaces we cover. Our check sizes range from 1 to 10 million. And as far as my view on the market, that question, and I wish I did have a crystal ball. Personally, I feel that, like here in the US, we're going to continue to see the market be very choppy this year, kind of unpredictable. And it could get really bad if we don't settle the debt ceiling issue here. Anyway, I am very happy to be here today and looking forward to seeing some great technology and great companies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for being here. Next up, we have Carl.
Thanks, Asher. Carl here, based in New York with BDev Ventures, which is essentially a corporate venture capital arm of Buyers Dev, which is a software development unicorn from Argentina. We primarily do a lot of B2B SaaS, but really interested in sort of the downstream effects of IoT and edge, sort of as it goes down through the SME and take a more bottom-up approach to the effects of this technology, more so in the small and medium enterprises where I'm interested in and spend a lot of time. So yeah, that's my take as it sort of goes more downstream from the enterprise and seeing where these applications exist. So yeah, thanks, Asher.
Thank you for being here. All right, next but not least, we have Mark Krasinski.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mark Krasinski. I'm with General Dynamics Mission Systems. Mission Systems is one of the 10 operating companies under General Dynamics Corporation. We build products and technologies that crawl the ocean floor and ride satellites to the outer reaches of the solar system and everything in between, literally. So I am looking for innovative companies and technologies and capabilities that fit into our tech roadmaps and gaps in those roadmaps to hopefully foster a mutually beneficial partnerships down the road.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you for being here, Mark. And I am almost on perfect time, 1 minute over, but now we will begin the presentations. And so how it's going to work is the company is going to share their slides. Usually it's 5 minutes of presentation followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. We ask that the panelists, especially when asking questions, but my preference is during the entirety of the event, but I know that there's some fatigue with that. Please try to keep your video on, at least for the questions, if not more so, but understand if it's not doable, we get it. All right, so the first person to present will be Hyperblocks. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Asher. Let me try to share my screen.
Perfect.
And let me know if you are able to see the screen.
Right now, we see a bunch of colors. Yeah, now I see Hyperblocks at a glance.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sudhir Kunath, and I'm the founder and CEO at Hyperblocks. Hyperblocks is a network as a service platform to deliver software-defined services to any location. There are two kinds of services that we deliver. The first one is a software-defined private 5G core network that supports network slicing and provides guaranteed quality of service to all the connected devices. This service is commercial today, and it has been deployed in the US and Europe markets. We also provide a low-code platform for creating edge application services, such as IoT use cases that can be used to bring operational efficiencies. This is typically done as a custom development work based upon the enterprise-specific requirements for the IoT use case that they want to solve over the 5G network. Then we have an AI-enabled controller that provides a single pane of glass to centrally manage all these connectivity and application services that we deploy. So what are we enabling? We are using our platform to enable a cloud delivery model that allows enterprise admins to self-manage the applications and network without having to own, build, or maintain their own infrastructure. So what this does is it enables service providers and system integrators to use our platform to establish a network as a service business at a much lower cost, effort, and time. And what does that model look like? We have a centralized controller. And the first step you do is you onboard an enterprise to this controller and provide it an isolated workspace. We call it an enterprise slice. And within this enterprise slice, you configure all the compute resources that the enterprise is going to use for delivering these services. These compute resources can be on-prem in the enterprise premises, or it can be on an edge cloud, such as a GCP and AWS and Azure, or even a private service provider cloud. But once you configure these resources on this enterprise slice, we deliver the software-defined 5G core network functions on this enterprise slice. And the system automates the installation, delivery, and deployment of the private 5G core network on the resources that are provided by the enterprise at different locations. You configure this 5G core to connect to local radios that are deployed locally on premise. and you have a private 5G network. What we also have is a low-code platform that we use to develop enterprise-specific applications for IoT use cases. Once these applications are developed, and as I mentioned earlier, these are custom developed. These can be developed. These can be delivered onto app store that we host in the controller, and from that controller, we can deliver those applications to any of the enterprises. So it's a complete digital delivery mechanism to deliver the connectivity and application services. So as far as our history, the company was founded in 2018. We did our first 5G trial at A1 Telecom at a university campus in Austria. Here, they were operating a private 4G network, which was using a Nokia core. We replaced that Nokia 4G core with a 5G core solution that was deployed over a data center owned by A1 Telecom. The trial was completed successfully, and in November 2020, we did our first commercial deployment. This was basically done off the edge data center, and this was essentially a network as a service model where the A1 Telecom was providing the private 5G service to the university campus, where the university was collaborating with industry partners to work on various 5G use cases. Since then, we have worked with customers such as Google Cloud, with Zebra, with Mantech, and Charter to bring various 5G use cases to life. Most recently, in November 2022, we were awarded a phase 1 contract by the US Air Force for an edge application use case. We are still talking with the Air Force on an actual application that we'll deploy for a phase 2. So what's our value proposition? Really, our platform is very simple to deploy. All you need is IP connectivity to the compute resources, and we can deliver the entire platform in less than 10 minutes in a very secure, scalable manner. On this platform, you can deploy a private 5G network as a connectivity service. And with our low-code platform, you can create application prototypes in less than 4 weeks and maybe deploy on the same platform for that IoT service. The entire platform framework is very compute efficient. That helps you to reduce your cost, size, weight, and power requirements for the data center by over 50%. And with cloud observability, you have a central command and control for managing all your use cases. So this is our revenue model. Hyperblocks provides our platform and attached services to our partners in an annual recurring revenue model. And our partners use our platform to provide network as a service towards the enterprise customers. Today, we have already worked with our partners to deliver solutions within the service provider, the industry, and the government segments. I have listed the customers that we work with. They are all different use cases. If you have an interest in any particular one of those, please feel free to ask questions, and I can elaborate on the use case. But what we are looking for, partners who can help us to extend our network as a service offering towards the end customers. We are also looking for end customers who would like to use our solution towards private 5G networks and associated IoT applications on them. As I mentioned earlier, we have a phase 1 contract with the US Air Force. We are also looking for a customer memorandum that we can get towards doing an application use case for a potential phase 2 in the next couple of months. We are not looking for funding at this time, but we would be potentially looking to raise a Series A towards the 3rd or 4th quarter, depending upon how we mature in the market and how we want to scale the business. Yeah, that's what I have. If you have any questions, please do feel free to ask right now. And I have also put my contact information so that you can reach out to me. If you want to see a live demo of our network as a service platform, we can do that as well, because we host that on AWS, and it's very easy for us to do an online demo for this as well. So any questions, please raise them now.
Go on. If we're going to have the questions be answered in the order in which you raise your hands on Zoom, there's a little button at the bottom that says raise hand. Feel free to utilize that button. Yep, Yvonne, you figured it out already. So Yvonne's going to go first, and anyone who wants to ask the second question can follow. So Yvonne, the floor is yours.
So dear, thanks for your interesting presentation. I have 2 questions. The first one, I didn't get at the beginning. Do you need your proprietary hardware, or is this software only?
No, we are a software only solution. We actually deploy our software on any kind of compute infrastructure that you provide, as long as they can be containerized. So we can do this on bare metal. We can do this on a VM or a container infrastructure. We can also do this on the hyperscaler clouds, GCP, AWS, Azure, or a private cloud. In fact, the one that we deployed at A1 Telecom is on a private cloud, which is called Exoscale. So means we are pretty much infrastructure independent.
Okay, thanks. That's a very, very good answer. And second question is, are you also dealing with or taking care of indoor 5G? Like, because indoor 5G is a problem because of, penetration of 5G, especially millimeter wave bands.
Yes.
Is this a problem you're also addressing?
Yes, actually, so we don't manufacture radios. We work with radio partners who provide these radios for 5G. We work with Nokia, with the Airspan. So they are some of the partners that we work with. But we can actually work with any 3GPP compliant radio. We are agnostic to indoor or outdoor deployments. We can support both because we are primarily providing the private 5G core network. In fact, one of the deployments that we have done at Zebra is essentially an indoor deployment where they are basically creating a private 5G network to test their own CBRS devices. And this is actually deployed here in New York at the Zebra facility.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Han, you're up.
You can
Sorry.
hear me? You can hear me now?
Take a minute to unmute.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good. Hey, actually, you have a great solution there. I really appreciate it. I like that. So you're basically bringing your bringing web app, to telecoms, right? That's what you're doing, right?
Yes.
Right. So yeah, that's very unique and like that. Can you tell us a little more about the security side of it, though, please? And how security is actually implementing and all that, and what kind of measures you took already, from the beginning for the design process? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so what we have done is the controller goes in a central location, so likely it can go in a cloud, and we do a secure connection between the cloud and the platform component that we deploy at the edge. And it's the edge component is called runtime, and it's a secure shell connection. So when we work with enterprises, we ask enterprises to open up a firewall for a secure shell interface between the controller and the edge. And the edge, since it can run within the enterprise premises, it is already bound by the enterprise firewall. And all the information that we deliver on the edge, which is the 5G core network and the applications, they are all running locally on premise. So they are actually already controlled by the enterprise firewall. In case the enterprise decides to have the solution delivered on a hyperscaler, then obviously we expect the enterprise to take care of a VPN between the enterprise and the hyperscaler. But in general, the platform is designed in a manner that it is policy driven. Only the packets that are of interest to hyperblocks enter our system. Otherwise it gets routed to a routing infrastructure that is connected at the location where we have deployed our solution.
Gotcha. Great, thanks. Man, I'd like to take up on your demonstration later, though. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Please feel free to reach out to me, and it's a very easy thing. We can probably do this demo in half an hour.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Perfect. John, you have the last question for this pitch.
Right. Thanks, Sudhir. Wondering if you have any experience with intra-network applications, so specifically between commercial and DoD.mil, and also between unclassified and classified environments. Is that something your software can handle?
Yeah, so we have been discussing with Air Force a couple of applications. We are talking to AFRL, so that is specifically around how to enable an ecosystem for, let's say, delivering multiple IoT applications. The use cases are still under discussion. We have actually talked to another department in Air Force on they call it a strike hazard use case, where they want to deploy a private 5G network, or the proposal is that you deploy a private 5G network at the airbase, and you use like a video processing or video analytics solution to detect any kind of potential bird strikes that could happen while the airplane is landing or taking off. The reason why we kind of did a 5G IoT kind of solution over here is because 5G provides the connectivity, the mission critical connectivity that you need for this use case, and then the application is something that we need to build. Similarly, actually we were at the Goodfellow Air Force Base a couple of weeks back for the industry day, and we actually talked to the training units over there where it seemed like there was a need for a private 5G network because some of the training requirements around AR, VR were not being met very well with Wi-Fi. So there are use cases. We are still exploring this with the Air Force. We just recently won the phase 1 contract, so we are in some discussions to figure out, how we can kind of make some inroads with the Air Force.
Yeah, I'd like to connect with you after.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Sadir, if you could quickly just end your screen share, that'd be great. And so the next company we have up to present is Creative C. And you should be able to share your screen now once you're on the floor.
Do you see my screen?
Not yet, it's black, it's loading. All right, what we see is Creative C, compute faster. We code, design, computational science.
Okay, well, good afternoon. I'm Greg Scantlin. I'm the CEO and 100% owner of Creative C, where we compute faster. So the product that we're developing is the dedicated virtual laboratory. And I build custom HPC products, mainly for the national labs. And so what we've done is we've taken that capability and put it into something that you can use locally, something that would be an edge product. So why do you need this? The government's spending about $2 billion to develop these CPU plus GPU systems, and they require quite a bit of development. A lot of the codes are really lagging the capability. What we do is we prioritize the scientific workflow rather than sharing the resource. And the sharing becomes a problem for a lot of computer scientists. We also have a patent around GPU technology. So a couple of years ago, we actually discovered this structure, and it's used for an alloy that was designed by a scientist at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And it took 800 hours to sort of identify that this was a subclass of materials, a structure that could exist for many different alloys. If he would have used the regular run time at Los Alamos, it would have taken over 2 years. He probably never would have done the work. This was published in the Chemistry of Materials journal. And anyway, I have a nice testimonial where Sven, the scientist, just is very thankful for the chance to use our platform, and that without the platform, more demanding calculations would not have been possible. The figure here is from the patent, and what we're doing right now is we're moving to a single phase liquid immersion cooling system. This is something that you could air gap. The idea is you build an instrument, it's very specific, and it becomes like your personal lab. We're working with Trenza Synergy to refine this profiling module, which will help the scientist better use the capability. And the co-design means that we can build the system in such a way that that's optimal for the virtual experiments that he wants to do. So our competitive edge, we've seen speed ups as much as 300 times. Typical run times are about 20 times faster, but we just have this sort of unique approach of prioritizing the science and figuring out how to get the most out of a node. A lot of times these big systems are not really utilized very well. We've been in existence for 10 years. We have about 6 million in sales, and you can see they're divided between academic, government, and commercial customers. Last year was our best year with about 1 million in sales. We got a couple of interesting projects that are going on right now. One is an AI application for one of those $600 million supercomputers. And we're helping another scientist at Los Alamos sort of prepare for her early access to that machine. We're also doing a project with the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, also known as New Mexico Tech. And both of these projects have more to do with speeding up the process of doing theory-driven materials design. It has more to do with that than developing an individual alloy. But you know, in the past, we've done that kind of work. We have a DOE phase 1 that went in this morning for nuclear energy and building a special instrument for the NEAMS code base, which is available also as a workbench. So this idea of a dedicated instrument which acts as a virtual laboratory is something that we're proposing to DOE. We did have a successful phase 1 AFWorks project in 2020, and we're trying to move that into a phase 2. Doing a lot of accounting right now to support investment activities that, you know, we may be looking for, you know, later in the year. But anyway, the team now is myself and a good buddy by the name of Don, who's got about 4 decades experience working with HPC users, and he was part of the exascale computing project. You might have heard of that. I think it's about a $7 billion project over, you know, a dozen or so laboratories. Anyway, I'm glad to take questions, and thank you for your time.
They will be answered in the order that you raise your hand, so feel free to go ahead.
No questions.
Not yet, not yet. Sometimes it takes a couple seconds for people to, you know, get their hands raised. Yeah, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, Greg, interesting presentation. So this is essentially a hardware component, correct?
No, it's an instrument. It's a co-design. So we typically have a software stack that is specific to the work being done. In the past, we've used codes like VASP, LAMPS, Quantum Espresso. So we do a lot of quantum type simulation. And so I'd think of it more as a virtual laboratory and in a place where you're doing virtual experiments.
Okay, all right. I guess my question really pertains to your capital plan. You noted a lot of non-dilutive funding. Are you looking to raise dilutive capital?
Eventually, but like I said, I had a pretty good year last year. I'm still sort of recuperating a bit and getting my accounting together. And probably in a year or so, but I intend to stay part of the showcase if they'll have me. And so hopefully I'll be around.
Perfect. Han, you're up.
Right, thank you. Actually, today is a great day for me because I'm running to all these good companies. Actually, yeah. So you basically you're co-designing high performance, you know, computing, you know, product,
Platform,
right?
yeah. It can be
Right.
between 1 and 3 nodes. We usually don't go over 3 nodes, but you would be surprised how many codes don't scale past that. And so there is no advantage to going to a larger system. You often have to wait for an allocation. And so, you know, part of our advantage is that you get access as soon as the equipment is available. You don't have to wait for somebody to build it. You don't have to do a proposal for an allocation. And, you know, it takes years to build these big systems and get them online.
Right, right. So this is good news for like you know, deep learning, neural net, and you know, the molecular biology and dynamics, whatever, and all that stuff, right? So that sounds great.
The last system that I sold went to Virginia Tech, and it's part of a special course that's being offered by a PhD, and it has to do with using AI and simulations to design advanced materials.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I think he
Can
has
you-
12 students on one machine.
Gotcha. Just one more quick question. Your the pricing scheme for your product, how's it work?
So the good news is the price of these nodes is going up like crazy. And now a lot of the supercomputing nodes are 150,000 and more.
Right.
And it's because the compute power is going up like crazy. And
True.
so it's, the fact is, if you want to get a certain amount of compute power, you're going to pay more, but you're going to get a whole lot more. So yeah, the margins may not be real high, but the prices are going up
Okay.
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Next and last question, Olivia.
Yeah, I have a question, and I'm far from a specialist, but I look at the transaction deal in the high performance computing, and I just realized that the issue was basically in the business model. The way our booking capacities was based on how the customer were booking capacity. So basically revenue were fluctuating. So my question one is, how does it work for you in terms of business model? How you basically get the revenue generated with your software, you sell it, you co-develop and you're paid at the end, or etc. And the second point, you told at the very beginning that you're the sole owner, 100%. So how it works to get the other employee motivated?
So most of the collaboration that I do are scientists that will want to buy a machine and will work with me because I can provide something that they won't find anywhere else. So it's a boutique situation. Like I said, those prices are getting higher and higher. That's been good for my business. You are easily seeing, single machines going for more than $100,000 now. But the work that they can do is quite impressive. And they're just, you can't really go to a cloud and get a better deal.
So basically you build up the machine with the software solution and then you sell it.
Like yeah, so that I would term an instrument. And so I'm trying to use this dedicated virtual laboratory to sort of stress the idea that it's really like a whole laboratory, not like a computer. Because you can build it to do certain virtual experiments, and the capability is very hard to match.
Yeah. So you build it on the specificity of the project you want to do with the particular machine, with the particular software. That's what
that's part of the patent.
Okay.
That's part of the co-design. That's part of the performance analysis. And it's amazing what you'll find, sort of compute power that's left on the table.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. The other question based on you're the sole owner.
Yes. And how do I find employees?
Yes.
Well, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, and I've had a lot of companies. I've had up to 40 employees, I'd guess was the most that I ever managed. Right now, I am contracting more and employing less.
Good stuff.
If I had it, if somebody ordered 1,000 machines, I would have employees pretty quickly. I have an office that's about 2,000 square feet, and I've built up to 20, 30 computers at a time. So I bring in people when I need them, but the really sort of expert work, I find experts. Okay, and the other work is just assembly.
All right. Yeah, thanks a lot. Looks good, actually. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg.
Certainly.
Fantastic presentation. Next up, we have Aspinity. Feel free to share your screen when you are ready.
Let me share. Can you see okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear and see you.
Perfect. So let me get rid of this. All right, my name's Tom Doyle. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Aspinity. And as you can see, enabling power intelligent products is really our mission statement. It's important to address as we look at how we consume energy for AI and the explosion of connected devices, from simply having our plants let us know that they need water to actual more mission critical items like our machines telling us they need fixed. 30 billion connected devices will be amplified by the 5G rollout that we hear about, will explode our power needs and will really require us to move to what we call insight-driven systems. This expansion, although will be met with some pretty significant headwinds, including power challenges, data waste, and battery life. So we have to use less compute power, or we're going to exceed what we have coming. We need to think differently about how much data we push forward and waste, the idea of big data. And we have to address the increasing proliferation of battery-powered devices as we're starting to see that technology plateau. These are major headwinds, and we just can't think about simply improving efficiency. We have to make products more power intelligent. And this is where we have meaningful change at the intersection of energy consumption and the deployment of AI. Spinity enables this power intelligence through its analog machine learning chips and the way that we sense, process, and then activate. So firstly, we gather data in a very low power way from the environment through a wide variety of sensors. We use analog machine learning, not digital machine learning, to inference, to detect events, to detect anomalies. And then we activate the next step or a system or transmit relevant data from there. Here's a prime example of how we realize this new power and accuracy performance. The Spinity's AML100 chip and its algorithm is the key ingredient for making this security product, this glass break detector, power intelligent. With Spinity, the always-on AI system power is near zero at 0.13 milliamps of always-on energy, achieving a 5-year plus battery life while improving accuracy compared to competitors on the market. And this is just one example of many where we change power consumption of systems from the sensor to the cloud. As we look through the flow, no data actually gets moved beyond Spinity's AML100 until we determine that the data is relevant and could provide needed insights. This dramatically changes the energy used, as you can see from the broad array of implementations across the applications along the bottom. The most important metric for this type of a product is the always-on AI system power. And as you can see, when we add the AML100, we drop that in all cases by orders of magnitude. This is all accomplished with a single AML100 chip via software algorithms, a major innovation, the first and only reliable analog processor. We've solved major hurdles in semiconductor technology. We have the patents and the IP protected. The AML100 is very unique from other cores as it processes analog data. It's built with analog circuitry. And this is key because the physical world is natively analog. And the AML100 does inferencing without digitizing any data, saving significant power. The end result is a system enabled that can optimize data at the source, be programmed for many, many applications, and achieve the lowest always-on AI system power. And we have tremendous interest in a strong pipeline in the commercial as well as in the DoD space, including key design win on the commercial side, key ecosystem partners working with as we go to market, including ST, Infineon, and Renesas, to name a few. Our forecast for 2023 ranges from 2 million conservatively up to an upside of 4.5 million as we move customers from early outreach to wins. We have been involved, written into, and secured contracts with the government. These extend from AFRL to the Navy to General DoD with the CHIPS Act, and we see it increasing. We have large partners that are writing us into these contracts as well. Spinity has a very strong team necessary to deploy this new technology. We have a board of directors with extensive reach into the industries we're targeting as well. So we are in a current fundraise now. We're raising $10 million to extend our commercial team, extend our current success, and further scale our R&D team to launch our development environment and extend our products even further. With 14 million investments so far for a semiconductor company, we have completed initial release of the world's first reliable analog machine learning core and secured an at-scale design. If you have interest in our fundraise, I can go into the details on that, but we're also very interested in partnering in government work or in commercial entities that are interested in the benefits that we can bring you. So if there is interest in any of these areas, please contact me. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Any questions?
Reese, the floor is yours. I think you're muted.
Yeah, trying to unmute. Yeah, really cool technology, Tom. You had that one chart that you flashed up that showed all the different kinds of use cases that that are capable of using this technology. My question isn't just in the first few years, where do you really see the areas where it's mostly going to be used?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so, we really focus over signal processing capability, machine learning. So we focus on really always on high bandwidth, challenging applications that are challenged with power. And so you'll see that the smart home, where we deploy today acoustic event detection, glass break, T3, T4, gunshot. We deploy vibration and voice activated stuff in the smart home, but also eventually we'll have vision there as well. We just filed a patent around our capability to process image and vision information. And so deploying this into a smart home and all these different facets is where we see the bulk of the market for what we're doing in the short term. Other than industrial, we have some really strong partners in industrial that's I would say outside of the consumer work that we're doing for the smart home, smart office, the smart factory, where we can deploy onto a machine and wake up when the machine starts to go bad. That could be a month, it could be 3 years. But those are the two main areas we focus on outside of the DoD.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Very cool technology. I saw that you got a couple contracts through DoD. On the phase 1, are you guys still working the phase 1, or is that over? And kind of what types of sensors or applications are you getting so far for DoD?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and let me go to that slide. So with regards to the DoD, I mean, we're on proposal submission teams, right? So these are large contracts that are getting written now. One has already been submitted. We're not the lead on it. It's a large department DoD contractor. On both of those with the DoD, we are subcontractors on those. The top one, the AFR fog and edge computing, we won that phase 1 award. That'll kick off in March. And we also have a defense contractor that's our system partner to get the phase 2. And then we have more in work. I mean, we typically don't, the only way I operate in the DoD is to be a part of a larger proposal, or have a phase 1 with a partner that's gonna back me. The focus that we have on DoD is around moving our technology to RF focused arenas and putting it in multi-chip modules, where we perform analog signal processing and computing for doing things like spectral monitoring, fingerprinting, and things of that nature. The other large area that we're focused on is more towards hypersonic vehicles, very challenging from a swap compute environment, especially when they have no connectivity. And so the idea of using analog signal processing computing is enticing, to say the least, and could provide great benefits there.
Got it. Yeah, I've got a couple ideas, so I'll reach out to you after.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Harry, you're up.
Hi, yeah,
Oh, wow.
great. Hi, yeah, great, interesting technology. And do you have any partners who are looking into the smart city space and infrastructure monitoring, advanced metering infrastructure, anything like that?
I mean, I would say it's definitely a market we look at. I mean, we're tackling the smart home first. That being said, I mean, we have done some work within, what we like to call grid monitoring for managing power grids, if you will. That was actually an Army Research Labs project we did. But yeah, I mean, I think we're rolling out our development environment. So for people in those arenas, where we don't have an end product that we're bringing out, we want to extend the, the offer to our development environment and let them develop it themselves, right? So think of us as kind of, as a flexible core that someone could program themselves. We happen to be analog, which sounds very complicated. The good thing about analog, it's very low power and can be very accurate, but we remove that. We have a Python-based, PyTorch-based method development environment that people can use to design their own capabilities, if that helps.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Perfect. Martina, you have the last question.
Yeah, I'm going to be really short and brief. Thank you so much, Tom, for the awesome presentation. I'm wondering if you're planning some space applications in the future, or maybe space grants to test your technologies. Do you have any plans for that in the future?
You're talking about like space travel and satellites?
Yes, like testing it on a spacecraft or something similar, like launching it.
I would say, I guess I would say, I don't know. Our work that, we're more enablement technology. So our system partners, for hypersonic vehicles, for perhaps other areas would probably be the ones that deploy that into those environments, but probably not us directly, right? So think of us as more of a core enabling technology, but someone else would have to deploy that in a system environment.
Absolutely, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next up and last of this session for the IoT and Edge sessions, we have WaterSight. Feel free to start sharing your screen.
All right, now I'm on mute. Can you see my screen?
A slide.
Okay, just a second. Yep, okay, here we go. All right, so first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present here. WaterSight is a joint company between Mekorot, which is the Israel National Water Company, and NewSight Imaging. Now, we established this company about 1.5 years ago, and we wanted to answer several issues with the water monitoring techniques, which are pretty common in the market today. And the main problems that we identify are mainly in the cost of the device and the speed of detection. So we came up with a device which is called the Aquaring. The device is currently on mass production. And the device is a real-time water monitoring device, which is basically powered by machine learning and AI. And it provides a real-time detection. It's a very low cost. It's a very low power consumption. And it provides a lot of data, which is very helpful when you do machine learning and AI algorithm. This is the device. It's pretty much a spectrometer on a chip, which is based on CMOS technology that was designed by NewSight Imaging. It's a complete IoT device. It sends all the data into the cloud and provide results which are based on AI and machine learning. We are working on main market segments right now, which are smart water management, agriculture, water utility, and beverage industry. And by the way, in all those 4 segments, we have pilots which are running right now. Some of our traction on the timeline that we've been able to do it in the last 1.5 years. First of all, we won the XTC Tech Challenge in the CES in this year on the sustainable smart cities category. And I think that the testimony that we have from the judge pretty much says about the devices. We won the My Global Village on the same trade show. We were nominated as a top 5 in the IEEE challenges. The Water Council Tech Challenge, we won some competition in Shenzhen, and of course in the food tech industry that were done in Israel. We have 7 active pilots that are running right now in a major industry leader. One of them, of course, is A2A, is one of the largest utility in Italy. We have a pilot running with Netafim. Netafim is the, I would say, the world leader in drip irrigation systems. We have a pilot that runs at Mekorot. Mekorot running a pilot from last November with very good results. And by the way, we are enhancing this pilot to, I would say, like a pre-deployment. We have very large faucet manufacturer in the US, which is running a pilot right now with our devices. Also, we have some pilots in water metering, and of course in beverage industry. One of the largest beverage manufacturer in the world today is running a pilot with our devices. Our core team, we have the board of directors, which is Elias Sulin and Eyal Yatzkan. Both of them has over 30 years experience in CMOS image sensors. They're also the founder of New Sight Imaging. We have David Balsar, is a board member, and he is the head of innovation and investment from Korot. We have a leading team, which is from New Sight, that is pretty much incubating water site right now. We have Dr. Nativ Rothbart is our lead researcher. You have myself, I'm the head of the Spectral Business Unit and also managing this joint venture. We have Michal Cooper. Michal Cooper is the director of strategic partnership. And we have Libby Robino, is a director of business development. Pretty much diverse people and skills. And we also have whole New Sight technical and R&D team, which is supporting this company right now. What we are looking for is, of course, enhancing the piloting, okay? We are looking for investors, and we're also looking for investors. I will go back a little bit to these slides, which I think pretty much explain the entire technology. We have water that goes through a mechanism that we developed that has on one side a spectrometer on a chip that we developed, and on the other side it has a light source. The water goes through and pretty much learn what is the normal condition of the liquid that goes through. And once there is some kind of anomaly, it creates an alert, and the alert can actually be delivered to the customer through any kind of media. It could be a personal message, it could be email, or it could be an alert on a dashboard that we are building for the customers. That's about it.
To start, we already have a question in the chat. Someone wanted to know how your device is connected to the internet.
We are connected right now through a cellular connection. The device is connected to some kind of a small computer with a cellular connection and goes up to the cloud. We are having a cloud right now running at Azure, and all the calculation, the AI and the machine learning is being done over there. And by the way, all the data, all the results that are coming from the analysis are also fetched back into the user panel. Everything, all the calculation is done in the cloud.
Perfect. Reg, you're up.
Thanks. Yeah, just 2 quick questions. When you say it's doing water quality measurements, is that like, hey, is it safe drinking water? Are there toxins? What level of fidelity can you actually get out of the water quality monitoring?
So as I said, we are working pretty much on what's called condition-based monitoring. So we give an alert whether there is some kind of a problem with the water, which are pretty much showing that something is not normal, okay? So the machine learning is a continuous machine learning system, okay? First, there is a kind of a training period that says, okay, I'm going to learn what is the normal condition of the water from a spectral point of view. And it can take from day to 3 days, depends on the application and everything that involved with. And then there is a kind of a monitoring phase. And on the monitoring phase, all we are doing right now is actually give you an indication that there is some kind of anomaly, okay? And this kind of anomaly, you can go over and check exactly what is the source of it. And later on, we can tag those vectors in the internet and in the database and let you know next time it's happening. We can let you know, okay, you know, we had this case before, and most likely the contamination that you have right now is because of iron, aluminum, or any other contaminants.
Okay, got it. And then in terms of scaling, is this something that, I mean, the diagram makes it look like it's something I hook up at my house, like a residential line, but does it scale to like a base water supply? Could I use this product to monitor?
It can scale from source to top, pretty much. Okay. The idea is the device is very low cost comparing to other monitoring devices that you have in the market. It's 10 scales lower. Okay, about the price. So you can actually deploy it in many junctions in the supply system, and can actually have a kind of a map of the city. If you put it in a smart city, for example. Kind of map of the city with all the supply chain of the water, with all the junction of the water. And when you get an alert, you can basically close or shut down or give an alert to people on a certain area instead of closing the entire city. Okay, sure. So that's the idea, because the costs allow you to deploy it very well.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. We had, Peter, do you want to ask your question? Because I know that you had one. You're still muted, Peter.
I think Oliver wants to ask a question.
Also.
No.
You can go first, Peter, no worries.
Sorry? Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, just a very interesting presentation. I do a lot in the UAE and KSA, and obviously water management is key there. You mentioned you're doing pilots, and is this commercially available right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and you manufacture in-house or you outsource to an OEM or ODM?
Most of the device is manufactured in-house.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. But it could be, by the way, manufactured everywhere if there is a mandatory requirement that can be done as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Because I can say that the majority of the technology is in the AI, okay, and the cloud calculation. This is where we are very strong at, and this is where we are doing our major development. So it's pretty much can be manufactured anywhere. Also, the database can reside in the customer premises if he wants to, okay, and all we are doing is actually maintaining.
Got it.
Okay. Olivia, go right ahead.
Yeah, quick question. Typically, to one customer, how many of those devices you would need to deploy if you have an idea? I know that main added value is within the software, but just to get an idea of device deployment, number one. And number two, you mentioned your fundraising. Maybe I missed that, but what are you looking for exactly in terms of fundraising, and what would be kind of the amount used for the operation, the amount to build up the device, or just to get a breakdown of what you would do with this amount?
Yeah, okay, so currently we are looking for, I would say seed plus money, okay, because we do have some seed money. I will be able we will be able to give you numbers if you reach out to us.
Okay, no problem.
But I can tell you that the valuation right now is very attractive. So it's the time to invest in the company. And it's the proceeds are pretty much going to be on further developing and marketing and doing all the pilots and increasing the staff, and also kind of taking the company from incubation stage to complete independent.
Okay, thank you.
With that, we finished up our IoT and edge section. Before the next section, we are going to quickly meet the panel. And so I'm just going to quickly throw up my slides and we'll run through. This time, if it's okay with you, we're going to do name, firm, and focus area quickly, and not too long. We're on a little bit of a time crunch. So without further ado, I'm going to quickly share my screen, and we're going to start off with Martina. If you want to go over.
Hello. Yes. I hope you can hear me well. I'm having some troubles with the connection. I am really glad to be here. It's always really nice to explore what's new out there and what we can support or collaborate with. I am the local lead of the NASA Space Ops Challenge in Ohio, in NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, and in Mountain View in California, Silicon Valley at NASA Ames Research Center. We are supporting innovation, of course. We love collaborating with businesses who are also in need of innovation, and more overall collaborating with the startup community. So it's an honor to be here.
It's an honor having you. All right, awesome. Tim, you're up.
Yeah, Tim Dang with Ultratech Capital Partners, an early stage deep tech dual use investor. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. All right, Rudy, if you're still with us, you're up.
Hey, it's Rudy again. We're back to introductions, I take it.
Yeah, it's real quick.
Once again, so if you guys missed out, again, I'm one of the Air Force reps for test and development. So we like to bring the connectivity between industry out to capability to the warfighter. So what does that mean? Is sometimes this new tech is never showcased and the warfighter never gets to see it. So what we try to do is connect folks what's out there to a potential use case for things like aircraft maintenance to facilities or security forces. And so when I listen to a lot of this stuff, I actually put something in the chat about SBIRs, right? There's a lot of funding streams, of course, but one of the small business innovation research has been the huge showcase with getting that tech out there, starting with research and development. So again, I'll put my information into the chat, and looking forward to hear what's coming up next. Over.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rudy. All right, next up, Harry, you're up.
Hi all, Harry Meyer from Mesa, Arizona, working in smart cities and innovation for urban environments.
Perfect. Thank you, Harry. All right, Craig, you're up.
All right, Craig McClelland. I'm in Toronto, Canada. I'm the aerospace AI and quantum lead on a federal economic development agency's industrial technology unit. So basically, we help make connections around supporting the defense sector. And yeah, thanks for inviting me along to this today. Excited to hear more about all the stuff happening down there.
Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. All right, I believe Han he had another something else to attend to. But Reese, you're up.
Hi, Reese Schroeder, and I'm with Allstate Strategic Ventures, the corporate venture capital arm of Allstate Insurance Company. We invest in a lot of deep tech and enterprise SaaS, and I'm very happy to be here.
Happy to have you. All right, Carl, you're up.
Thanks, Asher. Carl Ashwer here with BDev Ventures, calling in from New York. We primarily do seed through a B2B SaaS with a focus in SME. So yeah, excited to be here, and I recognize a few names on this next showcase. So looking forward to hearing the other pitches.
Yep, happy to have you. All right, Mark.
Thank you, Asher. Mark Rosinski with General Dynamics Mission Systems. We're one of the 11 operating companies under General Dynamics Corporate. Looking for innovative ideas targeted at our DoD mission critical command and control ISR customer bases.
Thank you so much, Mark. All right, Nilesh, you're up. sure if Milosh is here. We'll get back to him. Amit.
Hey, hi everybody. Hi, Asher. This is Amit Sridharan. I'm the general partner of First Race Venture Partners. This is a fund that we singularly started in 2020 to focus on seed stage, specifically in enterprise infrastructure. So we do cloud infra, data infra, cybersecurity is one of our key pillars, as well as other dev tools. So we are an enterprise-focused enterprise infrastructure fund, only for seed. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Amit. Next up is Dan Hingley.
Hi, Dan Hingley. Over 20 years DoD experience, primarily in the Air Force. Lots of 5th gen fighter experience, F-22 and F-35, training, test, and operation, and then some DoD headquarters, Pentagon experience.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Next up, she's not on the list, but she is here, Anna Jarman.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm here with Walmart's GT3 arm, which is our Global Technology Trust and Transformation group. It's a newly, somewhat newly formed organization that merges global governance and emerging tech.
Perfect. Thank you for being here, Anna. All right, next up we have Aston Pierce.
Hey, Asher, thanks for having me. Aston, I'm a part of Edison Partners. We're a growth equity firm that focuses on enterprise software, healthcare software, and fintech. I spend a lot of time in cybersecurity, so I'm excited to see the pitches.
Awesome. Happy to have you here, Aston. All right, next up we have Ron Moritz.
Hi, pleasure to be here. I am Ron Moritz with Our Crowd. I run the cybersecurity desk for Our Crowd, and cybersecurity is my thing, so looking forward.
Pleasure to have you, Ron. All right, last but not least, we have Anupam. Not sure if he's with us. All right, without further ado, if he comes on or if he's in the audience, we will promote him. But until then, we are going to start with the presentations. So without further ado, we are going to have Blastwave kick us off. And for Blastwave, we have KO.
Okay. Hi guys. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Let me jump right in. So my name's K.O. Kaindeck. I'm the CMO at Blastwave. Our CEO is traveling back from Europe. I'm also the chair of the security working group of the Industry Internet Consortium. And today I'm going to talk about Blastwave and what we're doing to protect critical infrastructure with a software-defined perimeter product, specifically for these OT and ICS environments. So a little bit about us, founded in 2017. We provide an OT cybersecurity solution for critical infrastructure. It works as an overlay across OT, IT, cloud, and IoT. We use an approach called a software-defined perimeter, which is a departure from typical layered network and network-focused security approaches. I'll go through that. We really combine secure remote access, micro-segmentation, encryption, and device cloaking to completely change the game and begin to address the real challenges around thwarting attacks and attacks that are specifically using an ICS kill chain. Our focus is manufacturing, power, and wastewater water management companies. And we have seen some interest also in the armed forces. I'll go through that. We've raised an 8 million seed. We're raising a Series A now of 15 million. We tripled our ARR in Q3 to Q4, and we're going to do that again. So we're growing. Customer traction is great. And we plan to be cash flow break even by the end of this year. So as you all know, US critical infrastructure is under attack. In fact, manufacturing specifically has overtaken financial services as the most attacked industry. Reconnaissance is way up 2,000+%. Bad actors are getting in through phishing. Ransomware is double the average in the manufacturing sector, and most companies report an intrusion. Why is that? Well, when you think about these OT systems, which are industrial control systems in plants and along pipelines and transmission lines, We're still using old models of remote access and VPNs and firewalls that don't really work very well because many of the devices have moved outside the perimeter walls. These are difficult to manage, weak authentication, you're sharing pre-shared keys, a lot of complexity. Complexity is not good in the OT environment. And many of the assets themselves are connected to the internet now in some way, and those IP addresses and ports are visible. SASE is another model, but we've simply moved that firewall into the cloud, and it has some of the same issues. With a software-defined perimeter, you begin to rely less on more of a network device to throttle access to assets, and you move the security controls into the devices themselves, onto the assets. So with an SDP, a software agent would sit on a server and a gateway protecting legacy devices and on endpoint devices. It's all zero trust architecture. With Blast Shield, we also incorporate phishing resistant MFA, mutual authentication, device cloaking, and encryption. It's all peer-to-peer full mesh, so performance is very high. Now, deploying an SDP, a Blast Shield SDP, allows you to thwart the initial stages of an ICS kill chain. So things like reconnaissance are nearly impossible to do because we make those assets invisible or undiscoverable. So you could run an Nmap scan of a network, be inside the network or outside, and you wouldn't see the assets protected by Blast Shield. That prevents things like being able to do reconnaissance, to weaponize some form of malware. It also prevents things like lateral access and delivery within a network. We would have helped to contain a lot of these types of attacks on the left. Our targets are the many, many hundreds of thousands of facilities that maintain critical infrastructure. This can be within commercial deployments and also military and federal. We have a couple simple components to what we do. An authenticator, which is a client, an authenticator for the user, agents that deploy on servers themselves, a gateway that can be used to protect downstream assets with port isolation. These legacy devices that can't be patched running Windows XP and Windows 98, basically they would be unscannable, undiscoverable on a network. We completely protect them. Our orchestrator can live in the cloud, or it can live on-prem, so it can live in an air-gapped network. Deployments within a typical enterprise environment can also be done where we can deploy into private clouds, public clouds, etc. The big advantage is preventing compromised access, preventing reconnaissance and unauthorized discovery, and preventing lateral movement. There's a lot that we do to go. I'm not going to go into a lot of that detail. We're working with, for example, even the initial discussions with a base, an Air Force base, to protect some of their building management systems and wastewater management systems. Drones, similar thing. Instead of trying to deploy new embedded security into devices, you can put our agents on these systems, and we make drones disappear from the sky. So we work with drone operators on that.
30-second warning.
Okay. And then we do a lot in the industrial space, and we eliminate a lot of the different types of vendors in those OT environments with something that's much simpler and about 75 to 90% less. The peer-to-peer networking and our technology also makes us about 6.5 times faster than OpenVPN and 34 times faster than our competitors. Customer traction and is great within a number of different areas, and it's repeatable and growing. We're also are working with an OT security VAR to target their top 35 customers. Compliant. So that's a Black Shield, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about us.
Go again for this session. We're going to go in order of hands raised, so feel free to raise your hand. I saw that there was already a question, I think, from Ron Moritz. I think, do you want to ask it Or do you want me to read it,
Sure.
Ron?
No,
Okay.
sure, I can ask it. So most of the devices, including, for example, drones, just to pick one of them, they run proprietary operating system. The controllers in the industrial environment also run proprietary operating systems. They're not Windows, they're not Linux, they're not things like that. And they cannot handle an agent installation. So are you suggesting that you're going to put basically a proxy server between those devices? I mean, I really don't understand how you're making the claim that you're going to put agents on these devices.
Yeah, so we
maybe you can
work with a drone operator that uses the largest drone manufacturer, and they use Yocto. So it's a scaled down version of Linux that's used in a lot of IoT devices and industrial devices. So basically, it's if it's a version of Linux, and certainly Microsoft, we can do that down to something as small as some of those types of systems that run Yocto. If it's an RTOS, we're not completely optimized for real RTOSs. I worked at Mocana, which is an embedded security company, so I know well all the system architectures, but we're not fit for those types. But when you think of drones, they're the devices themselves and the controllers and the backend servers that do a lot of the scheduling and flight control are all running some form of Linux, and many of them are manufactured in China, and they have very little security on them today.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
That's his stuff. I don't know if you want to answer it publicly, but he wanted to know if you guys are working with AeroVironment or DJI.
Not that I am aware of. Oh, DJI, yeah. DJI, we work with one of their drone operators that do medical deliveries using their drones.
Another question: have you guys worked closely with the Cybersecurity Resiliency Office, CROWS?
No, we have not. I'd love to, in the follow-up, be able to find out more about that.
Leave your emails in the chat, because I think Rudy might be able to speak with you after.
Great.
After this. Perfect. Okay, so there's one more question in the chat. What are the security issues with China and DJI drones?
What are the what?
Security issues with China and DJI drones.
Oh, so some of the issues have less to do with a country in particular, except that a country that manufactured and they may be used in other countries. So countries are always concerned about supply chain, basically. But with drones in particular, there are a lot of attack vectors that open up when the drone is flying, especially because once they get into open airspace, their public IP addresses that are being broadcast can be attacked. So an attack drone can fly near it, or other devices could be nearby. And if it detects that public IP address, it makes it easier to attack. So what we do is when we deploy our software agent onto a drone, that might be, and it's really software that is sitting on the operating system. It will begin protecting that drone, and you can configure it so the TCP ports and public IP address are no longer visible or scannable. To be able to see it, you have to have a client, our client agent, sitting on your device or another server with us, and be logged into the Blast Shield network that we've created. So without being authenticated first and connected, you won't be able to see any of the other assets. So that's the big problem with drones. Okay. Thank you.
Definitely leave your email in the chat because I think there's a few folks that do want to reach out to you. Perfect. Without further ado, we move on to the next presentation, Consilient. Feel free to share your screen when you're ready.
Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Harry Glorikian. I'm the CEO of the company. Let me walk you through Consilient. So, you know, in the time of Chat GPT, everybody's all rage about how AI can take large amounts of data, summarize it, make it useful. But right now, what we're doing is we're replacing what humans can do anyway themselves. And so what we've done is we've built something that humans can't do, which is consume incredible levels of data and actually read the document and help us identify new knowledge within those documents or the connection between data that's in those documents. So what we've done is we've created an engine that can digest millions of science publications. So whether it's, let me jump to this slide, academic literature, economic literature, government grants, innovation patents, technology publications, it processes them, and then we can actually identify how ideas are forming and moving throughout all those documents, and basically be able to hone in on the areas that we have most interest. And so what we can do with the system is we can identify hidden relationships that a human would not be able to see. So we've done a certain project where we've looked back over the last 21 years of publication literature in a particular area of science, and we were able to identify all those relationships that were budding over time that would identify new scientific breakthroughs that were going to happen as time was going forward. And we've now actually looked back in 3-year epochs to be able to prove that our system with a high probability can pick the technologies that are going to be the next thing 3 years forward. Actually, we just submitted to publish a paper on those findings. You can actually see where things are moving. And what you can do is in one of our views, you can actually plot and see third order relationships that are starting to bubble up through the system that you wouldn't be able to see through normal GUI that we're using right now. So the biggest aspect of this is that we can identify completely new knowledge. So it's not new data, not new information, but the acceleration of that aha moment where you can see nodes coming together to produce something completely new that you were not expecting. And so, as I said, we've looked in areas like proteomics as an example of the area of study of proteins. And that's the area that we've submitted a paper on. We can actually see third order relationships that, you know, the graphic up and to the right, it probably needs more time and some explanation. But we can actually follow science. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, we can follow it through time and actually predict where those technologies are moving through time and where they will be before they get there. And so you can see that depicted in the bottom right-hand corner. We've done this in other areas. We've absorbed all the papers for neural IPS. So we can actually see what's happening in AI and ML and where the next technologies are sort of bubbling up, say from a large language model perspective, what's going to be next. And we've taken a physics approach to this. So this isn't a black box that sort of runs a calculation and gives you an answer and you're like, I'm not sure how it got there, but it is completely auditable so that we can actually track it back to understand what are the decisions the system made to get the bubble to where we are seeing it today. We can do things like actually look at the language. In other words, this is all of the area of physics, and we're looking at it by country. And we can actually identify that one particular country is submitting papers in the physics field that are very different than what we're seeing in the entire body of physics literature. Now, the question is, are they identifying something new and novel, or are they actually trying to taint the literature to throw people off and pull them in different directions? That is something we can see with the system because we can look at all the documents simultaneously. We're doing the same thing in the finance world, where we can utilize the platform to read every 10K, every 10Q, every press release and so forth, and identify signals within the language of these documents that would tell us something about the company that we're looking at. And actually, we have now deployed this live in the market about 10 days ago with real money to actually determine exactly how well the system is working based on our design. Everybody always asks the same question, well, how's this different than all the other systems? Well, I would tell you that the other systems are doing some form of word count, some graph network, some search capability or summarization capability. Whereas our system actually looks at the data, looks at the language, reads the sentences. We do not throw out stop words. We do not create an ontology. The ontology is created on the fly from what it has consumed. And therefore really does, I don't want to say understand what's there, but able to create themes that then it can track going forward over time. And so the areas that we're focused on right now are obviously, finance and healthcare and life sciences, but there are many other corpuses of information that we can chew on to help people identify unique signals that they're looking for. I've got myself, our CTO up here, and one of our advisors. We have a team of 5 on the back end. And what I'm really looking for is feedback, partnership suggestions, and we are starting to migrate to the point where we might be raising our first seed round. And my email is there on the bottom in case anybody wants to jot that down.
Question. Again, feel free to raise your hand and we'll go in the order in which your hand is raised. All right, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on the partnership suggestions piece there. We can connect after if you're interested. And there's several universities up here in the Toronto area that have a really strong focus on both AI and cybersecurity. And some of the things you were talking about today sounded a lot like they're right up the alley of these researchers. And there may be some funding available to support some of that research too. So I will note down, I'll send you an email so we can connect afterwards and get more into that. But yeah, really neat tech though. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Perfect. Anna, you're up. And then there's a question from Reg. I don't know if he wants to ask it or whatever. Anna, go right ahead.
So I guess just because of the nature of what you're using, the publications, and I think you mentioned patents and some other things, how far behind are you trailing from what exists, and have you identified any gaps? For example, the difference between what people are writing about or getting published versus maybe what is like socially or culturally inappropriate. So it's not like you're not going to find it in papers, but it might still be occurring. Have you noticed anything like that?
Yes. So if you look at papers, they're sort of lagging, right? But then if you look at grants, they're the next stage to get much closer to what's there. If you can get to preprint sort of stuff, you can sort of fill it. You can start filling the gaps and get a lot closer to what's there. If we had access to social discussion or where people are talking about stuff, we can actually capture stuff almost in real time of how someone is thinking about a problem. Because if you think about a paper, it's actually how someone is thinking about an issue. And so we can figure out their thought process and understand where they're going with their ideas and able to sort of draw the lines of where it's going to go. And the one thing to keep in mind is science has no black swans. It's incredibly stable over the last 21 years we've done our analysis. So nothing just happens spontaneously. You can see it coming way ahead of time.
Thanks, Asher. Harry, this is the type of stuff I'm super interested in right now. So one, where can I access the papers you guys publish?
So we just submitted it for publication, so it's in the process of being reviewed. But I'm
Okay.
happy to show you the data if we jump on a call together.
Okay, sweet. I'll shoot you an email after. And then number two, what's kind of the user interface of this? Or is this something that somebody submits a problem to you and your team uses the software that you've developed to get after the problem?
Yes, right now so since we're like, pre-seed stage, we have picked the interfaces that are super cheap and easy for us to manage, but not something that you would just hand over to someone and have them start to play with it. As we understand maybe a user's use case, we could design a interface for them to sort of run with it. We have made simpler versions for people to get to the answers that they're looking for quickly in particular corpuses. But if you want to like really look and tear something to shreds, the super interface is what would get you to the answer that you're looking for. We are actually working with a few pharma companies and life sciences companies under a consulting basis because they have very specific questions. And so, being able to give them the direction of the technologies that they're most interested in, that's sort of a custom project that they would be asking us for.
Okay, so at this point, folks are kind of paying you guys to provide some of the predictive analysis in the fields that they're in.
Correct. And as we get the use cases figured out, we're going to be designing interfaces that they would be able to do it themselves. Our goal is not to be a consulting firm, trust me.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, thanks.
And we have, but Harry, definitely leave your email in the chat when you have a second. And it's on the slide as well for anyone who wants to jot it down. But I would also leave it in the chat if you want to quickly type it out.
Will do.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we have Lattice Industries. Feel free to start sharing your screen when you're ready.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
It's a little choppy, but I think we can hear you.
Okay, can you see it? All right. Okay, so I'm Jennifer Schmitz. I am the CEO of Lattice Industries, and I'm here today to talk to you about one of our new developmental projects that we're getting into, which is called the SEED, which stands for Systematic Entry Enterprise Deployment. What these are actually self-sustaining local digital infrastructure system hubs that we can also use as edge node command for operations to facilitate IoT testing, innovation, and what we call a set ecosystem for partners to actually exchange data in a very contractual form using a back end of traditional clearinghouses. So as we look, and we know this from both military and government systems, there is a lot of data out there, and everybody who wants to drive data is worried about endpoints. What they have forgotten about is the actual connectivity that's necessary to get those innovations actually going. So my team, which basically comes from the payment industry, risk management, and others from networks such as Visa and MasterCard and American Express, we've taken a look at some of the issues that were in the deployment with these digital infrastructure grants and some of the other things that the military has been looking at and trying to figure out how we can get this actual supply chain out into the field. So we started looking at what were the actual needs that both on the military side as well as on the commercial side. And it broke down to some very basic elements that were missing out in the field to help speed up the transfer of critical information. And so we have a system that we formed around our proprietary and patented technology that's called Agnostic Interchange Management System. And we built it up a little bit larger to actually be a field deployment that would incorporate a tier 4 micro data center, a multi-level mesh network, and an immutable commoditized contract facility that we could actually exchange with the members' data amongst each member inside the ecosystem. The main key to our deployment and why we built this was actually to take a look at what is actually out there and is there an importance in the institutional level to have contracts between very large institutional players. We started off doing our research about 4 years ago, started in 2018. We were eligible for the core of our technology was actually granted a phase 2. We did find MOU partners out in the Air Force for needs such as just communicating with their vendors in a way that they could share data that can be digested easily into the military systems. And instead of, as we presented to everyone, instead of actually going out and trying to form some other new technology, some new enterprise system, what we want to do is leverage what's actually in existence out in the marketplace. And that's actually not only a container system, but also the elements that actually can control and then speed up the process of that data transfer. And what we noticed out in the field was the fact that there was a complete lack of digital infrastructure. So as much as we talk about all these nice endpoints, these satellites and all these other things, what happens at the end of the day is that OEMs need to communicate and need to understand the data when they do testing. And so they need facilities out in the field that can be easily deployed where they can actually do that testing, but also work as an innovation hub and have operations that they know are secure. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means that there's a lot of benefits, both on the government side, the military side, such as liability reduction. We can actually centralize operations into these small hubs. We can use them to create income where needed. So we can provide reporting to commercial entities that want to report back. So for instance, say you're an insurance company and you want to do insurance and you need information based on what you're seeing in the OEMs that are creating new autonomous vehicles or autonomous drones for use. The only people that they actually can get some of the information are many times is the OEM. So what we'd like to do is facilitate that by using metadata from the system to provide actual response, actual results for the people who are interested in supporting the IoT industry. With that, that means we do that. We have to commodify information so that we not give away anything critical, but yet we are able to provide that information in such a way that it will help the industry to actually further progress. What does that mean? Well, having something physically chosen, built, and actually deployed in an 18-month period. We need hard assets cloud to actually secure these edge processors. And so we went out with a proprietary design for a micro tier 4 data center to actually host this as well as data exchange platforms so that the OEMs and users of the system could actually do the testing right from that information that's in that centralized hub. Now, what does that mean? We actually go out, we find areas and partners that we actually have a need, and that could be anyone from an underserved community to people who are looking to supply a connected corridor. And so before you build that connected corridor, whether that's for purposes of testing for military or for civilian use, we want to make sure that there's an operational hub that can actually process that data on the edge and facilitate those institutional members who want to actually coordinate their activities with other institutional members who need to share that data for innovation purposes. So we take this opportunity to create this hub and bring a centralized line out to a particular area, and then a mesh network we can form around that, and then invite the members to come into the ecosystem in which we're building that's basically governed on their own self-organization. This isn't something that's brand new. However, with all the things that have to be connected, we need to actually facilitate these things. And what we're doing, we actually facilitate exchange and the transfer of high-speed information in areas that people never thought about before, between partners that may not seem to be partners, such as the whole financial industry would love to understand what the IoT industry is doing, but it's very hard to find active information on those things. So we find this to be a viable source and actually an element that we call a marketplace for information that has been commodified.
30-second warning.
So what are we doing? We're actually, in the military sense, we found a need at the ISR level, and we also found a need at the supply chain level.
Okay, so I think. Okay. Jen, are you with us?
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what just happened there. Sorry about that. Okay.
No worries.
let me get back to our slide here. Okay, so we went out. Okay, so we went out and we actually
We should start wrapping it up though,
brought
'cause we're short
the best in the industry together. So as I mentioned, my team has over 100 years of cumulative experience in digital infrastructure deployment and data networks. We also have brought in technologists and finance experts to see if we can actually get this into a commodity contract, which we have been able to do. It is viable and it is being tested by the Options Clearing Corporation, who is one of our sits on our advisory board. What are we looking for? Well, we're actually looking for partners to test this out in the commercial space as well, whether that's military or viable partners. Just to go out, we have 2 other opportunities that we have built since our initial one to create what we call SPVs. And these operations in and of themselves are financeable. And we have created a financial model that actually incorporates green and infrastructure bank financing for each one of these entities, because it turns out it is an actual development project that actually is financeable. Our first one, which came out as a demonstration project, is occurred in Wilmington, Delaware, where we actually worked with an underserved community who is deploying about, I think, an entire digital infrastructure system that's going to go over about 7 miles. We're working with them and some of our partners, our institutional partners like NTT and Oracle, to help facilitate their build. And then from there, we actually are working with a company called TGE Top Down to create a first of its kind micro tier 4 co-location member data center.
Jen, we should start wrapping it up because we're over time.
So what we are looking for on these, and including with our investment capabilities, we've gotten our first round. We've had over $1 million of private financing. We have our first round right now being financed for our Wilmington project. And we have 2 other projects, one located in the south in Florida and another one located in Ohio that we're looking to finance. And basically that is primarily to enter into the agreements of the public-private partnerships. We have public entities that are looking to work with us right now. And we have located 2 properties in which we want to build 2 additional seats. Like I mentioned, one in Florida and one in Ohio for that project. So I think that kind of wraps up the time.
To ask questions and we'll answer them in chronological order based on hands raised on Zoom. Can you tell us a little bit more about the partnership you have with the U.S. Air Force, Jen?
So we were granted with our technology, our core technology was actually a contract management system that sits at the head of what we're calling the seed. It's our Lattice Industries data exchange proprietary software. It's actually working to create a help for the Air Force where they have a supply chain issue talking to their mechanics, and they digest from their vendors information that's critical for such things as shipping. So we actually we were able to get an MOU from the Dover Air Force Base, the 436 APS. We've talked to other folks over in Europe on a similar situation, but we are hoping to bridge the gap between how to communicate as a vendor on critical information and then easily digest it without having to rearrange every system that, basically the Air Force is using. So the idea is to package under common rules and common governance the critical commodified information that'll be needed to be easily digested. And so we worked on that technology with the Air Force. We are actually sitting between a few other grant opportunities, ideally working with those innovation groups and areas that want to test innovation using some of the edge technologies and the processing. So we're creating a platform for that. And we're looking to do that down in actually in Florida. And then in the one in Delaware, that's the Dover Air Force Base.
But feel free to leave your contact information. I know it's on the slide, but feel free to leave it in the chat as well. Without further ado, the next company we have presenting is Nanolock.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here in Israel. It's kind of 10 p.m. I will share a few slides with you guys. So my name is Moti, and I'm VP Cyber Strategy and Alliances in Nanolock. I'd like to present to you guys something a bit different. We're an OT cybersecurity company that doesn't do detection like anyone else. We do cyber prevention, and I'll try to convince you. We're pretty old. We were about 5 years old, raised around B. We have offices kind of all around the world. So what we understand is that the whole world of cybersecurity today just gives out detection. In the world of in OT, detection is always too late. You don't need a $1 million system to tell you that production line stopped working. You need something else, and we understand. And we also see regulation around the world moving into a new era of cyber prevention and not cyber detection. Singapore is the first country who already made that just a few months ago, that change. We're assuming Australia is next, then the US will be there as well. So we are the world's first and only zero trust device level industrial protection against internal and external adversaries. And I'll explain to that in a second. What we do is that we have two products with two different technologies, but sit just about on the same area. It's just we protect devices. We don't protect the network. We don't protect any other things. We basically protect devices. Devices could be PLCs, RTUs, industrial machines, could be robots, could be smart meters, and different technologies. It could go all the way from being embedded to the software of a hardware, and it could also be through the operating system or even using the known mechanism, locking mechanism of any vendor's PLCs. So this is the MITRE framework that everyone knows. We took this from one of the detection vendors, and while using our software, what we do is this. All the Nanolocks you see is things that we manage to prevent from by basically locking the devices. We turn them to a read-only mechanism. If they're read-only, it means that an adversary cannot just connect to the network, find a device, and change configurations on it. It's just undoable. It's from the memory area. That is why the only way to make those configuration changes is through our system, which is multi-factor authentication with electronic set of rules and authorities to make sure that only the authorized people can make changes on the specific devices that we protect. We are working with huge partners around the world. We're always looking for more partners. Since we're a small company in Israel, we only work with local partners. So that's basically what we're looking for. Our solution, because of the fact that we protect devices themselves, is we have a great impact other than the cyber aspect. We protect from outsiders, from insiders, from human errors, and also for supply chain. And it doesn't come with something too complicated. We just found specific devices on production lines, as I said before, RTUs, PLCs, industrial machines, industrial computers, and just put our software there. And by that, getting a strong cybersecurity ability. So this is a competitive analysis between us and other, let's say, technologies. And the last thing is the way we integrate. What we basically do is that we lock devices on what's called level 1 according to the Purdue model. All of the other visibility network, Clarity, Nozomi's, Dragos are just about between level 2 and level 3. We, of course, integrate with them. We have a server that keeps our privileges. That's where we do our management, that is integrating into the SIEMs and the SOCs of the world, from Cortex to Splunk and Nozomi and CrowdStrike and all the other by just adding a very hard level of prevention to the OT field. That's about it. Short.
So feel free to ask questions, and we'll hopefully get to them in the answer that you guys asked them. So I'm going to open the floor now. No, is Nanolock using AI within your systems?
Was that a question for me? Because I didn't hear it.
Yeah, yeah, it was. They wanted to know if Nanolock is using AI within your system.
No, we don't do that. We will do that in the future because of the fact that we do get a lot of information from the devices that we use, and therefore lots of information and big data could be used for future AI. Just up until now, we haven't been used that because we didn't have any need. I'm sure that once we'll integrate into some Palo Alto or stuff or so, we will get there.
So we'll open the floor again for questions. Well, Pete, please leave your contact information. We appreciate you joining us late at your time. So feel free to leave your contact info, and I'm sure folks will hopefully follow up, and we can move forward from there. All right, for the last presentation of the day, we have Iron and presenting is going to be Nathan. Go right ahead.
All right, the best for last. Now, thank you for your time. These have been great presentations, mind-blowing. The future looks like a beautiful place. It's good to see all of this. I will go a little off script today, and I'll show you the product itself. I just want to talk about a couple of slides just to give everyone an idea of who we are and what it is we do. So I'm Nathan with IronYun. I am located out of California. I handle business development efforts on the West Coast. IronYun is headquartered in America, in Stamford, Connecticut. We are an AI firm. Our focus, our discipline is visual AI. We are trying to recreate superhuman vision with software. And where this fits in, our product, Video, is the AI vision platform. You look at our nation's critical infrastructure, you look at ports, hospitals, educational institutions, even metropolitan areas. 100% of these organizations and places have cameras. They have analog cameras or IP cameras. They have video management systems. There's more devices, more IoT devices out there on the network than ever before. There's more storage than ever before. And this is where we come into play. Visual AI pays attention to what is being recorded and gives you the ability to get real-time alerts and gives you the ability to, quote unquote, Google through your video for moments of interest instead of spending hours buffering through video and trying to piece it together yourself. Those days are over. You can now pop this into the network and get into it. So we have security applications from weapon detection, rifle, handgun, knife, all the way to the other side of the spectrum with operations helping detect cattle go into labor or cattle giving birth. So I'll go through the product right now. So we have the real-time alerting capabilities. Once an object is detected, within 3 to 5 seconds, you're getting alerted that that license plate was detected, that Amber Alert vehicle, that stolen plate, that hit and run vehicle, facial recognition for someone on the be on the lookout list is detected. Your operators are getting that in real time. And you also have the ability to Google through your video. So here I have all of the major storage companies out there that have the lion's share of the market. Avigilon, Milestone, Genetec. These are very common, and they will be in the critical infrastructure footprint currently. So you plug this in, we could layer on and piggyback on those cameras and that storage. In here, there are about 80 cameras or so, and there's several hundred hours of video footage in the past day, and I could just simply Google across it. So if I'm looking for a vehicle, I could get into the details, the make or the model of it. Let's say I'm looking for a black vehicle. I could simply just search. And you can see here, there are 43,000 results in 2.4 seconds for scenes that have at least one black vehicle in it. You can see New York Times Square. There's in fact a black SUV driving by. If 43,000 results is way too many, you could just dive in and get more granular. You could look for makes and models of vehicles. BMW, for example, all the different 1 series and 2 series of BMWs. You run your search on that. And you can see here, here's frames, 121 results within 1.9 seconds for scenes that have a BMW in it. Here it detected a BMW i3, and this is Abbey Road in London. This is a Google Earth camera, just a public RTSP stream. This is not set up for license plate detection or anything like that. We're just retrofitting that camera, and we're able to get this information. So this speeds up investigations. You're looking for a vehicle, or you're looking for a license plate, let's say 852. Partial license plate. You can see here, there's in fact a car with 852 in the license plate. So if that was someone you're on a lookout list, you would get that right away, but it's cataloging everything and you have the ability to search through it. So I'm coming up on the time here. I just wanted to end with our ask. We have a team of hardcore engineers that are looking to solve complex problems in the real world. We're looking for grant opportunities and projects to make everyone's life easier, happier, and safer. And we would love the opportunity to collaborate with anyone and everyone. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nathan. That was really cool. Anna, go right ahead. You've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, so I was curious, and I appreciate the effort on this because I know it's a tough space. When you're talking about something like weapons detection, for a company like ours, where we sell weapons, we're sold. It's not detecting it that's the issue; it's detecting if it's a threat. So it's more worried about sometimes the consequences of getting that incorrect repeatedly. So do you have any capabilities around that, or is it simply the object detection itself?
That's a fantastic question. So yeah, right now, most of the deployments that are looking for this inside a school environment, they just care any weapon that's detected, let us know. But we do work with law enforcement where everyone is armed, and we are adding more logic to it where if it's not brandish, if it's concealed, there's different ways to do this with how people are standing. No one walks around with their arms out, and that's more of an aggressive posture, and we can detect that. So we do have that, but that is in the works right now. Just detecting a weapon is razor sharp, and we are building upon that logic, and the AI is ever evolving. So hopefully it'll know these finer details over time. Great question.
If no one else raises their hand, but I just want to hear about some of the other. No, I saw like with cars, that would be fascinating for Amber Alerts and other pieces like that, which is really cool. But what are some other interesting use cases? Just because you have it up on the screen, and I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, so taking over all the cameras in a city, being able to look for particular license plates. So there are security plays, detecting if somebody's on premise at night in an area they shouldn't be. There's life safety applications. There's detecting if somebody has fallen and they're not getting up. There's detecting behaviors such as around our nation's ports. If somebody is talking on a cell phone, we can detect that behavior and call that out as well. And then there's the operational side, detecting large rocks going down conveyor belts at mines. There's a lot of tedious tasks that people are forced to do right now, and the AI can do that heavy lifting for them. It watches 24/7, doesn't get tired, and can help do a lot of that in conjunction with that person.
Hi, so have you worked with any real-time crime center implementations? Like you mentioned some PDs.
Yeah, absolutely. We work with offices of emergency management. We work with local police departments, transit systems as well, and we provide them these analytics. So there's several that we could reference, several smart cities. The NVIDIA Metropolis team can talk to that as well with you. Great references that would be more than happy to talk about their experience.
Perfect. Awesome. This is really cool technology. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think with that concludes our showcase. Really appreciate all the panelists and folks who joined us. And yeah, stay tuned. Next time we're doing energy and clean tech. So feel free to stay tuned for that. And yeah, happy to have all you folks join us, and feel free to, I'll put my email in the chat as well. Now that I'm a broken record. For anyone who has any inquiries, questions, want the recording is going to be put up on YouTube, and looking forward to seeing everyone next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.